What goes around comes around. April 7th, 2016. One of my dear neighbors, Donna Lowe, once asked me, "John, how do you deal with so much death?" She was referring to the number of times I've been by a family's side when a loved one passes away in our community. Part of this is from the 15 years I volunteered with the Knighton and District Fire Department, the other in the 19 years since I retired. Sometimes it is to prepare and present a eulogy, sometimes simply to show them someone cares. Without giving it too much thought, I replied, "I pray a lot." Well, this was another of those weeks. I received a message on Sunday morning asking me to a friend's home because this lady had heard that an infant had passed away. When I arrived, I had to park outside the gate and walk in, as there were a number of vehicles already parked in the yard. I did the best I could to simply be there for the family. Some of my former students may find it hard to believe, but I tend not to talk very much. I'm a pretty good listener, and I use that skill to act as a sounding board. People share when they feel comfortable and when they are ready. After what seemed like a rather long time, but in reality wasn't long, the ambulances and the RCMP depart, and I let the family know that I am there for them. All they have to do is ask. After all, this is the same little Quinn that I held in my arms when she was only 12 hours old. That's it, except for the hugs dispensed as necessary to provide comfort. The Lord provides whatever I need, so I have no jobs booked this week. On Monday, I stay by my computer and my phone so that I'm able to provide support as required, responding to questions or if asked to perform some tasks, which I did on the computer. On Tuesday, I meet with Carrie and her boyfriend Jason, and her father John, mainly for support. On Tuesday evening, my dear friends Harry and Gladys Rusk are performing songs, and Harry is scheduled to do some light preaching in the form of a testimonial at Cowboy Church, so I make a point of attending. I always learn something when Harry and I chat, or when he talks about events in his life. After the service, a former businessman from Edson, Randall Murray, long retired, comes over and gives me a long handshake, while he tells me that he is really enjoying my book. He says that it's written in a homey style, and he hopes that I can share the stories with many more people. Then he puts some money in my hand and asks me to give a few books to seniors who may not be able to afford a copy. He then gives me a big hug and says, "I sure hope you write another book." When I get home, it is approaching 9 p.m., but I have one more chore. Earlier in the day, while meeting with the family, I presented them with the final copy of the obituary. It met with their approval, except for one spelling mistake in a name. I send a message and ask if it is now appropriate to make the announcement on Facebook, using a photo of Carrie and Quinn. 2.5 days have passed, and I have not shed a single tear. My Lord gives me the strength to comfort others as required. As I am preparing the post, tears start to roll down my cheeks. This is a good time to let it go. While the tears are flowing, my messenger bings to let me know I have a new message. I check in case it is family wanting to make a change. No, it's a name which is not familiar at all. She asks, "Are you the Mr. Myslicki who was a teacher in Manning 39 years ago?" I reply that I was a teacher there from March until June in 1977. She goes on to tell me that she was in my grade 6 class and now has a married name, so I would not recognize her name. Cynthia St. Hilaire goes on to tell me that I was one of her 3 favorite teachers of all time. Apparently, one thing which made an impression on her was that I respected all the students, and in turn they respected me. The other thing she remembers vividly was that I read to my class every day. That helped reinforce her love of reading, and she still has that series on her bookshelf. I used to read orally from Laura Ingalls Wilder's series Little House on the Prairie. You see, most of these kids came from the farm, and they could appreciate the struggles and the fun times which were described so beautifully in Laura's books. Cynthia goes on to tell me that I could probably write a book with all of my adventures. So I get her address, and a copy of my book is on the way. So on Tuesday evening, when I was ready to break down, my Lord provided me with 3 very uplifting opportunities to handle the hurt. The announcement was now ready, and I posted it on my wall, and on the wall of 2 family members. On Wednesday again, I stayed home, close to the phone and computer, to help the family as best I can. As a result of the announcement on Facebook, there were many messages from family and friends. Some were offers of help for the family. Some wanted more information about the service. Some were giving me encouragement, knowing that this has the potential to be difficult. Today, I met with Quinn's auntie Pamela Vandespiegel again. I know it is good therapy to talk, even if we can't resolve some issues, so I listen. I can only stay until 2:30 as I have to be back in Knighton to celebrate the 95th birthday of a very dear friend, Mrs. Florence Haggart. Just before I go to the saloon for my coffee and cake, I pick up my mail. There is a beautifully decorated envelope, so I am curious and have to peek before going to wish Grandma Haggart a very happy birthday. Inside is a heartwarming handwritten thank you card and letter. You see, last week I received a phone call from a stranger, Anne Schaffer, who wanted to order my book. Once I had her information down, she said, "There is someone here who would like to talk to you. Do you have a moment?" Well, it turns out this happened to be one of my previous customers who had since moved to Whitecourt into a senior's lodge. Well, we had a really good chat until someone drove into our yard, so we had to say our goodbyes. The next day, I mailed my book with a message that there would be no charge in appreciation to Al Ingersoll for all the years he did such a beautiful job of maintaining the grass on the Edson Kinsman Ball Diamonds in preparation for the annual 256-team Slow Pitch Championship tournament on the August long weekend. Then I totally forgot about having mailed the book. This afternoon, the thank you card and letter were from Anne and Al. It flowed with compliments, and how impressed Al was that someone remembered him and thanked him for all the work he put into the ball diamonds. Al is unable to read anymore, so Anne is reading the book to him. Along with the letter were 2 checks to help make more books available to seniors who could not afford one. You can imagine that my bib overalls were feeling a bit tight at that point, as my chest was swelling from all the heartwarming comments. So, my friends, dealing with death can be tough, but it may be a little easier to deal with when family knows that someone cares. All you have to do is be there. I also am comforted in knowing that my Lord looks after me when I look after someone else in their time of need. What goes around, comes around.